welcome to Unews. I'm Carolina Sarassa, and thank you for being with us today. And we begin today with another historic day in our nation's capital. A panel in the House is in the middle of a two-day session to consider two articles of impeachment against President Trump. Lorraine Cáceres has been following the hearing and has more.
Two articles of committee, they move on to the House floor, and a final vote is expected next week. Back to you, Carolina.
Well, thank you, Lorraine, for that report. Meanwhile, Republican lawmakers are preparing for an imminent trial in the Senate. It is likely to take place early in the new year. Sources saying President Trump and Mitch McConnell are in disagreement over what that trial should look like. Janet Rodriguez has more. Janet.
And Majority Leader McConnell just simply doesn't want a political show in the Senate come January after what is now likely an impeachment in the House. He wants to move on with this process very quickly because he knows he has the votes and have to have a trial. And that is what he seems to be trying to avoid, according to some Republican sources in the Senate. Now, this is not what the president wants. President Trump has said that he wants to be able to defend him hopes as the president calls it, but that doesn't seem to be likely what McConnell has in the plans, and now he doesn't need to talk with the president, we believe, and he does need to talk with his Democrats counterpart to see what the actions will be once this impeachment process goes over to the House. But we understand from some Republicans in the Senate from having to have another trial like we just saw basically in the House. These are McConnell's wishes. Now we have to see whether that will actually happen. Back to you.
Thank you, Janet, for that report from Washington, D.C. And Michael Cohen wants less jail time. According to a new court finding, the former attorney for President Trump asked a judge to reduce his prison sentence. That sentence put out in New Jersey, thousands coming out to remember the victims. Even authorities are learning more about the suspect, saying surveillance video shows the suspect clearly targeted a kosher market. Now, the surviving Boston Marathon bomber who was convicted and sentenced to death is appealing his death sentence. The response from Joe Biden reports he's considering a pledge to only serve one term. Politico House of Representatives on Wednesday passed a bipartisan measure to provide a pathway to citizenship for thousands of undocumented farm workers. The Void World Days, a group of doctors and activists still trying to help undocumented immigrants being held at a detention center in the San Diego area. The group has spent several days outside that center in San Isidro demanding access to that place to provide the flu vaccine. Kelia Tejada has more. Just today, two more volunteer physicians were also arrested. U.S. immigration officers blocked them from trying to administer flu vaccines to those migrants. Now, the U.S. government announced new guidelines concerning good moral character for immigrants, saying a demonstration of that behavior can benefit immigrants in their proceedings. But some see that change as a way to make the immigration process even more difficult. Jaime Garcia has more. Thank you, Jaime. Now, a new episode of Real America with Jorge Ramos is out tonight. Let's go to producer Nidia Cavazos, who has all the details. Nidia, welcome. What can we expect tonight?
Thank you, Carolina. Well, immigrants in the United States have long tended to travel by bus across the country. It's been a safe and affordable option for them, but that's changing as now Border Patrol agents have been increasingly questioning migrants aboard Greyhound buses. This week on Real America with Jorge Ramos, we have the stories of passengers who have been harassed and forced to get off the bus, like what happened to this man in Washington State, far from the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's take a look at a preview of tonight's episode. Border agents can question passengers aboard buses that are within 100 miles of any border. They are justified in doing so if they have reasonable suspicion an individual is violating immigration laws. Very often, activists say those suspicions can lead to racial profiling of U.S. citizens. Tune in on Facebook.
I'll be watching tonight. Thank you for being with us. And now the largest public university system in the U.S. is facing a lawsuit over how they admit students at issue those popular SAT and ACT scores. Juan Carlos Gonzalez explains. Coming up, a plane makes an emergency. A man in Savannah, Georgia is apologizing for groping a female reporter's backside on live television. It happened while another moment caught on camera. This time in Arizona, a plane making an emergency landing at a used car dealership in Phoenix. The pilot and his passenger were able to walk away after the incident. As Eileen Cardet reports, no one on the ground was hurt. Now to California, where a baby survived a major car accident after being thrown from the back seat of an SUV. The California Highway Patrol says the baby was found still in his car seat upside down on the shoulder. As Jorge Hernandez explains, it's a miracle the baby had only minor injuries. Now, a Mississippi mom thought she was installing something that would keep and help her keep a watchful eye on her children, but it turns out the Ring camera allowed someone else to spy on her family and even see inside her daughter's bedroom. As Paola Byron reports, she has a warning for others turning to this technology for peace of mind. When we come back, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro told reporters that he could possibly have skin cancer and even underwent a series of medical exams. And to Colombia, where police are facing accusations of kidnappings after it was uncovered that police were detaining people in unmarked private vehicles, those detentions spreading over social media. Gianni Aponte reports. Now, a lack of resources and an overwhelming drought have formed a deadly combination that has hundreds of children from a region in Guatemala in permanent famine. Rafael Rodriguez explains how extreme poverty in that area is the cause of chronic child malnutrition. A sad reality, and coming up, a new drug targeting West is experiencing its earliest flu season in 15 years. The CDC is actively monitoring flu activity in more than half of the country. The agency says 12 states and Puerto Rico are experiencing especially high reports of influenza-like illnesses. And coming up, a man receives hundreds of letters. And welcome back. Every year, hundreds of letters addressed to Santa arrive on one specific apartment in New York City. Azul Alvarez has more on why. Need for